Okay, in this video, we're going to solve the next accumulation function. So this is a 2002 AP Calculus FRQ question number 4. So it says a graph of the function f is shown above consists of two line segments. Let g be the function given by g of x equals the integral from 0 to x f of t dt. Find g of -1. So you need to plug in g of -1 is going to equal 0 to -1 f of t dt. When you do this, you have an issue. The issue is these are not matched up, the lower bound and the upper bound. You got to put the -1 here, and you got to put the 0 here, and now you have f of t dt. But when you do this, you got to pull out a negative. You got to factor it. So now we have a negative here. So now we need to find this area over here. So the area over here is 1/2 base times height, so it's 1/2. The base looks like it's 1, and the height is 3. So your answer over here should be -3/2. Let me write that down. Equals -3/2. Okay, part B. Or the next part of the question, g prime of -1, not part B yet. G prime of -1. So g prime of -1 is this point right here, which is f of -1, because it's the derivative, which is 0. The next part of the question says, what's g double prime of -1, which is equal to f prime of -1, which is the slope. So now the way that you find slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you do -3 minus 3 over -2 minus 0. So now you're going to get -6 over -2, which is equal to 3. Okay, part B. Let me move some of this so I have some room. Okay, so part B says, for what values of x in the open interval from -2 to 2 is g increasing? Explain your reason. So g is going to be increasing where the slope is positive. Or actually in this graph where it's above the x-axis, because this is the graph of slope. So this function is above the x-axis everywhere from here to here. So now you would say g is increasing from -1 to 1 because g prime of x is equal to f of x, which is above the x-axis, or you could say greater than 0. That's what they like to see. So now it says, for what values of c or x in the open interval -2 to 2 is the graph of g concave down? Explain your reason. So in order for something to be concave down, it's where the second derivative is negative. So now you would say g double prime of x is equal to f prime of x, which is less than 0 on the interval. So it's where the slope of the slope is negative over here. So you would say from 0 to 2, right? 0 to 2. Okay, part D says, on the axis provided, sketch the graph of g on the closed interval -2 to 2. So now, the key to doing this is you need to figure out 0, 0. So if you plug in 0, 0, f of t dt, that's going to give you g of x, right? You went absolutely nowhere. So you know the height has to be 0. So there, it starts at 0. Now, if you find the area here, this little area here, let me switch colors so that way we could distinguish. If I could find a color palette, where is it? Let me switch to red. Okay, so if you find this area over here, that area is going to be 1 times 3, 3 halves. So if you go to 1.5, this is not going to be the best drawing. 1.5, that's at 1. And if you find this area, let me switch colors. Bless me. Okay, if you find this area, that's going to be negative 1.5. So it's going to go back to 0, right? Because it's going to cancel itself out. So now we know this part of the graph looks like this. And when we go backwards, we already found this part. We know that part's negative 1.5. So it's over here. And then this part would be positive 1.5 because it's canceling each other out, right? And you would get a graph that looks like this, more or less. Kind of looks like a sine curve, but it doesn't go through 2 pi and negative 2 pi. All right, I hope this video helps.